Hi, I'm Wayne Simister, 584 Cortez Street, Salt Lake City. We filed several tax appeals over the years. This last tax notice we got in the mail just is way too much. All we see are repeated errors. Not only are they repeated, they're multiplied. So again, we're filing a tax appeal. And folks, this is happening in an economy where nothing is making sense. 1/6 of the population is on food stamps. 43% spend more than they can afford. 13.1% are unemployed. 5,000 to 6,000 people have had foreclosures on their homes. This time around, though, we did it on a spreadsheet. We wanted to find out what's really happening, not what we think is happening. We've kept good records. We've had them since we bought the home in 1961. About all we found out was corrupt, fraudulent, and misleading information as generated by the county assessor. In short, we found that in 20 years, our taxes will be more than our income. Well, that's a lie. It's actually going to be in less than 5 years, perhaps, because we've got to eat. We've got to deal with inflation. It's really going to be much worse than the 20 years projected. Our spreadsheet clearly shows that the property tax assessments are incorrect. They are based on fraudulent data. And on top of that, this fraudulent data is multiplied year after year after year after year. I'm hoping that we can go through this spreadsheet that I've prepared and point out the multiplied errors the county assessor has made. The errors are multiplied year after year after year. We'll get back to this spreadsheet later, but first, I want to point out something that's going on behind your backs. This abuse is worse than I anticipated. We are having judgments made against our taxes from people with absolutely abominable salaries. If that weren't enough, these people are getting raises in pay that simply are off the page. KC had a $42,374 increase. Pretty good. CJ got a $47,661 increase. And MJ got a $66,445 increase. While DP got a, $63,285 increase. These increases are way, way, way above what anyone in the lower echelon ever receives as a whole year's salary. What kind of fairness is there in having judges that have these kinds of salaries judge people that maybe got an increase of $0 to maybe $75 on a typical wage? Yes, $0 to $75 is the figure most people get for their increases. And we're getting figures for $42,000, $47,000, $66,000, $63,000 for people who are making judgments. These people are getting raises in pay that simply are off the page. So, let's move on. Let's get back to the spreadsheet. This, too, is discouraging. For our spreadsheet, we laid out all the years we had paid on taxes. We paid taxes from 1961 to 2014, with the 2014 tax still not firmed up yet. From all indications, the newspaper reports it will be a shocker. So we can expect that too. At any rate, what we found was that at 2001, our taxes exceeded what we paid for our home. In other words, our taxes amounted to over what we paid for our home at $28,500. By 2014, the tax exceeded what we paid for our home 1.8 times. In other words, it's almost twice what we paid for our home. This added up to an unbelievable number. 1.8 times what we paid for our home. The spreadsheet showed error after error after error. They showed that our property valuation just skyrocketed. Are we to believe that the laws of physics are incorrect, wrong? I happen to believe in laws of physics. No, homes don't escalate in value. They go down in value. In fact, ask the IRS. Ask the IRS when you fill out your tax form. Does your home escalate in value, or does it go down in value? Well, of course, it goes down. And you may have not noticed that the assessor is also pulling another little tricker on you. He's comparing your old home against a new home. In one of the years, we compared a brand new home against a property value of a 50-year-old home. They were the same. They were the same. In other words, a 53-year-old home by no means compared to modern properties. Modern properties with new wiring that meets electrical code. New homes with carpeting. New homes with dishwashers. New homes with central air conditioning. New homes with large lots so children could play. These in no way compared to the 584 Cortez Street, which was almost just the opposite. But then don't forget that little tiny bit of magic that the property valuation guy does for us. He takes last year's error in property valuation and multiplies it by this year's valuation. The errors continue on year after year after year. Older homes really get the brunt of all of this. We can't sell our home like the property assessor indicates with his figures. It's a what if situation with the property assessor. With us, it's a what is situation. It's an actual, factual situation, not a mythical situation. So, let's take a look at the spreadsheet. In the first column, it shows simply the year. As the year progressed, one could trace each event as it happened. In column 2, it shows the taxes we paid to the county every year. It was fraudulent in that most property valuations were higher each year. This was because property values magically increased. These exploded valuations were then multiplied. They were multiplied by last year's exploded valuation. This happened over and over and over again. To boot, another little twist was added to your property tax, what they term a property tax rate. When exploring this other variable, we measured it to be in the range of 26.1%. It was an added double whammy. In the third column, this keeps a running total of the loot being collected by the county. By 2001, we were in shock. The total amount paid to the county was now exceeding what we paid for our home. By 2014, we had paid the county 1.8 times what our home cost, almost twice what it cost. This was now beyond all decency. This was not acceptable. In the fourth column, this is our true home valuation. It decreases in valuation each and every year. The county thinks it increases. That's wrong. That's fraudulent. That's a horrific error. No physical property increases in value each and every year. Instead of using the county's error-filled valuation, we chose to use a valuation used by the IRS. The IRS uses this valuation for all physical properties. We were conservative. we used a 53-year depreciation schedule. Typically, one uses a 5, 10, 20, or 30-year depreciation schedule. Ours was more than conservative. In the fifth column, this is our overpayment of taxes. This was calculated using the new lower depreciation values used in column 4. It's column 4 times 0.01577, an amount subtracted from the erroneous actual tax paid. The 0.01577 factor was determined by establishing a standard. That standard was the first tax paid, $449.31, on our $28,500 new home. In other words, it was $449.31 divided by $28,500, which equals 0.01577. Column 6 is just merely a count in years. Column 7 is the important one to us. It's the running total for the overpayment of taxes we've made over 53 years. This does include a 6% interest fee on the unpaid balances. At year 53, we find our final tax overpayment value to be $127,222.56. Do we need to say more? These following videos were made for previous year appeals. They have extremely valuable information. This information clearly states why the 584 property valuation has decreased sharply in the negative figures.